is the task ahead of the Minister of Finance? We're talking about Wale Edun. They were just sworn in on Monday, and they have all taken their offices. What should we be looking at? What Nigerians should be expecting? What is that be a priority for the finance? Because that would mean this Adefolarin Olamilekan. Let's look at the economy before now. We have a minister. What should he be? What should he be looking at?
I think to start with, we must first what are the roles of the Minister of Finance? He will be in charge of fiscal policy. He's going to oversight the military policy, in charge of the trade policy. So these three areas of the economy. It talks about issue microeconomic of the government, where the money is about how money goes where release into the, as well as also absorb money into this. What it talks about both local and international trade, and the issue of manufacturing of good agriculture. And now it's expected to be able to put down from the economy of the people, as well as some of the welfare of Nigerian people. As we speak right now, we all know the challenge. Even before we come on air, we have been discussing about challenge for the subsidy. It also falls into its domain to work on, particularly government have been from the subsidy removal. The government is it to put it in project or short, medium-term project, or just immediate that can ameliorate the challenges that we face in Nigeria today. This would be the focal point of the minister as we speak. I think 2 days back they aired the meeting where they shared $906 billion to government, the local government, the federal government. Now that is official, and we discussed a lot around how that money is to empower the people in their rest of the local government. So we expect that from this, you'll be able to also marshal that will speak more than just theoretical words or theoretical issues that will not add to the Nigerian people. Because as a Minister of Finance, we expect to look to now the gaps, the leakages in revenue in government, in the segment in the past, a shortfall in the revenue. There's leakage option. There's official our government receive its remittance. We also look at here, and also let me not forget the issue around depreciation of the naira. All is in his under his office, in the sense that he must ensure that will ensure that strengthening so that we can correct for the country.
Talking about the naira, okay, is it job mention the Minister of Finance making sure making this that was strengthen naira? So where does the Central Bank of Nigeria into this?
The central bank will like most of the naira is in place. Naira designing policy was done during the Buhari regime. You remember what they said?
Exactly, aware of it.
Now, when being governor, must be able to carry the current minister of it, whatever policy the monitors they are carried along. The issue about form of PC they are going to release, the policy of the money inform them what form of PT ratio of the that are going to bank, they must be carried along. And of how much of revenue from the four angles that we normally is talking about crude oil, talking about remittance from people staying abroad, talking about export, and so talking about people who are coming to Nigeria to exchange for naira. All this must be on the table of the Minister of Finance. So much is coming in from the central bank, what the central bank is earning in forex, and how they can deploy same to strengthen the naira. The challenge we normally have is this from this angle: is that if both of them are working functionally, whatever policy that the finance bringing policy or whatever the CBN is talking about monetary policy, but they must make sure work together. And again, trade is very key. Trade on the part of the Minister of Finance, whatever policy in terms of taxes going to impose, either import product or exportation of product, must tally what will help us to earn money and help us to stabilize our income. Income in terms of what government is earning in terms of taxes, because taxes is very, the Dubai regime has something called diversification of the economy.
Yes.
But they focus more on agricultural aspect.
In fact, it started from the former president. It started from the administration of Goodluck Jonathan.
Exactly.
That economic diversification. And the focal point was also agriculture.
But we expect that this time they will look away from agriculture. They will look more into other aspects of the economy. We have about 18 sectors, but we have about 7 active sectors. Talk about agric, ICT, telecommunication.
Is agric active?
Agric is active. In Nigeria, agric is active. If agric is not active, I don't think most of us will have enough strength to be here, because we are still producing food. Even though it's subsistence farming, I would normally call it, not
exactly
mechanized.
Exactly why I'm asking if it is active, because when the government talks about diversification of the economy, I don't think the government was not talking about subsistence.
Exactly.
It was talking about commercialized farming. So in that mechanized farming, in that aspect, is Nigeria doing well?
But let's say we are not yet there. While we are not yet there, we can do the factors of insecurity. We can link into the politicization of agricultural development in Nigeria, because a lot of politics go around when government want to do a particular policy on agriculture. Before politicians will come into it and begin to see it as if it's just their political parties that own that policy. Then the commercialization of that agriculture that you are even talking about is focused on prices of agri product. Nobody is thinking about producing more, but we are just talking about let us produce and sell at higher prices, and that's a very big problem to the agri sector. But what we are looking at, the 6 sectors that are very active: telecommunication, city, agric is there. Talk about auto energy. Talk about finance, banking and finance, and talk about health. These are active sectors that government can also look in a way that to ensure that they also do practical projects that will enhance Nigerian economy. But we continue to focus on just one diversification.
Oil.
If you also remember that from January 2022 to like December 2022, most of the revenue that government shared was from non-oil sectors. The oil and gas that we have so put our focus on never give much to the Nigerian economy. Not until June sharing of the federal allocation that NNPC now brought about 124 billion to the government, that said this is part of our own contribution to the fact. But this particular one they shared 2 days back, I've not really checked the details, but I know that NNPC definitely must bring something to the table. But what I'm trying to point out, we should look at areas that will enhance both revenue of the government and also strengthen the naira in a way that we can have a very value currency for our country. Because if we don't have that value currency for our country, we begin to complain about the challenge of the naira and the deflating economy that we are faced today.
To a layman there, as far as they are concerned, you're just speaking grammar.
Definitely.
They don't understand.
Definitely.
They want to know how will this translate into the ordinary Nigerian going to the markets to be able, improving the purchasing power of the ordinary Nigerian.
I think improving the purchasing power of the ordinary Nigerian falls back to how government ensure that the product that is coming to the market. What are the ordinary Nigerians are looking for? Looking for consumable food items. Talking about rice, talking about beans, talking about yam, things that we can locally see around us. Then complementary goods like Maggi, spaghetti, spices and the rest of them that come grounded oil, groundnut oil.
So whatever makes the kitchen active.
That's what they are looking for. Now, the problem why they are still having issue where the price of these things are going up is that because energy cost is very, very important. And that energy cost is what we have mentioned earlier about fuel subsidy that have been removed. Everybody is now tying its cost of production to because there is fuel subsidy removal. Everybody is now tying its cost of transportation to fuel subsidy removal. Everybody is now tying everything that has to do, even the payment of salaries of workers, to fuel subsidy removal, because they are now saying that we are not making more money as we expect. Even when we are making the money, we are spending it on what? Operational costs. Now, that operational costs are now being transferred into the items cost price of unit of every goods and services that you can see. And government on its own have not yet gotten the clue on how to tackle that aspect of the economy in terms of this price that everybody is jacking up as a result of fuel subsidy removal. Cost of transportation, bad road that we are also driving our vehicle on, cost of logistics, and cost of storage, because it's also there. They store those goods, they kept it in the warehouse, and those warehouses have to be secure. And let's not also forget that the issue of insecurity is also part of what we are facing. So ordinary Nigerians who are here to understand, who are trying to, as much as possible to understand why this is happening, will understand that the cost of energy have translated into the price unit of every goods and service, including garri that is locally refined as you may say, is now increased because the person that is bringing it to the market has spent so amount of money bringing it to the market, and because of that I will add the cost of my transportation on top. He has not told you that he is going to pay for ticket at the market. He has not told you that he is going to pay for ticket according to the association that he belongs to, but because of transportation alone it has increased the price. So the ordinary people are now thinking, what can government do to bring down this price? And government on its own is thinking of how to ensure that he maintain and remove this subsidy stuff, because they believe that it is as a result of corruption in the system that made them to remove subsidy.
Now, when a government decide to implement a policy and without thinking the end result of that policy, so where does governance, as in good governance, comes into play? How can the gap be bridged between the governed and the government?
I think the problem we have in Nigerian cases,
because as it stands now, there seems to be a gap.
Seriously, a wide gap. And to fill that gap is what is the priority of the government. Our constitution says the welfare of the people is the priority of the government. So where does the government
and then there's something else again. Some people were actually, yes, I overheard some persons discussing that during the electioneering campaign, politicians were going on, they held several town hall meetings with Nigerians, talking to them about their aspirations, their manifestos, what they want to do for them, and allow them to ask questions. So the question is, should there not be such meetings when there is a policy on ground to be implemented that will affects Nigerians in a way that, in a shocking way?
It's expected that they also hold town meeting now. As I have suggested now, should government hold town meeting around the situation of the economy? Very important. So the people can also suggest to the government on what to do. But what I was doing at is this. At the initial stage, the constitution says the welfare of the people is the priority of the government. So the problem of government is how to draw the line between the welfare of the people and national interest. Because removing subsidy to the
government... What is the welfare of the people and national interest? Because when you say this, it looks as if the welfare of the people is not a matter of national interest.
It is, but it has to draw a line. You hear what I said? The government said they are removing subsidy because there is corruption within the system of subsidy. Now, they are looking at a national process in terms of securing the economy, whereby people, the wastages that have been incurring over the last, whereby they say they are spending 6 trillion of our national budget on paying subsidy alone, that we want to remove it. Because if we continue like that, we will not have money to invest in infrastructure. We will not have money to invest in health, agriculture, all those things we have mentioned. They will not have. Now, they're not so good. If we remove subsidy, we will to have that money and put it. On the other hand, subsidy is also a welfare package for the people. But because of the broad national interest of saving money that other people are taking from the government, they now bring a challenge to the people.
And Nigerians have been asking, who are those people?
It's a big question that even I myself, do I know to answer it? Do I know them? They are there in the government. And if you understand politics in Nigeria, it is the same people that have been in power that will also constitute themselves as businessmen who will be chasing government with contracts and papers for businesses. The 56 people they give license to import food, who are they? They are still politicians. Their name may not be found on the CAC registration of the company, but it is owned and managed by those set of people. So that's where the conflicting interest comes in. That's why the issue of subsidy is like a conflicting interest between the government by himself, for himself, because we have removed it, but we are not getting it. Just like you asked over the air, when we are not on air, that how come that they don't have plans? Not that they don't have plans. The plans they have, they just discovered that it cannot meet up with the expectation of the people. Now they are giving money to governors, 5 billion. They are giving them 5 trucks of rice. Now it is expected that the same governors will also do their own. They just shared 966 billion 2 days back. So what are the state government going to do with their own share? And each state will not collect no less than between 15 to 20 billion.
They shared 90. You said
966 billion.
They shared 966 billion.
Exactly.
And on top of that, they have 5 billion
added with 5 trucks of rice.
With 5 trucks of rice. Okay, that is for the palliative, right?
Definitely palliative. Now, the money they collected, they were going to pay salaries and something. They are way big. Their monthly wage bill is around 4 billion, 5 billion. That means salary they are going to pay everybody, pension and the rest of. So what did they do with the rest? So what I point I should have asked is that how can we now ensure that this welfare of the people is where the package that Nigerians will now have a feel of government. That feel of government is where the challenge is. How many of us will now have that feel? You rightly you asked a question when we are there that if so FCT is sharing that we want to go and collect, and I ask you,
I want to go and collect too.
People of FCT, are you part of this set of people? Because when the palliative come to FCT,
I would like to go and collect my own palliative because I want to know where they are sharing it.
Let's say FCT, when it comes to FCT now, definitely Pape is under Buhari local government. He's going to Buhari.
Okay.
When you get to Buhari,
you are giving me a clue on where to go.
Definitely, the chairman of Buhari will call the chief of all the districts in Buhari and ask them to bring their people to the local government and collect. That is the end. And those people, when they call them, they will not call you that doesn't understand their language or they are not part of them. And the chairman of that party, or the person, local government, will also call his party faithful to come. That it has come, it has landed. Then if it is that FCDA, definitely the minister will call all the workers together and they will go through their social their welfare association and the rest of them to share it. Ordinary people like us that are not FCDA member, we are not the part of the 9 ethnic group in FCT, will not get. It also happened at the state level and across, and that is how this welfare package doesn't get to the people as expected. But on our own, for the generality of Nigeria, what can the government do to ameliorate these challenges? We have asked for mass transport system. The other day I saw a lot of blue buses transiting from Abuja to other states. I was asking, is it the buses they are bringing? Is it the CNG buses? But I'm here in FCT, I have not seen those blue and black buses. So I'm expecting that they will do that. Because when government ameliorate our transport challenges, many of us will not complain. Coming all the way from Massacre that I'm coming, it cost me a lot. Because it cost me a lot, I'll not do what I need to do as part of contribution to our national development, speaking on radio and speaking on TV as we are here today.
Okay, you know, in 2020, during the pandemic, there was this same palliative. I remember vividly. In fact, there are some things I don't even want to talk about. I don't want to remember because people died in the process of getting palliative. People get injured. At the end of the day, most people, what they got at the end of the day they discovered they were grains, rice that they could not even use because probably they've been kept over time and they are no longer edible. Nobody could eat them. So what it boils down to that, all the suffering and everything, the process of going to get these things and everything was in vain. And looking at what happened that time, don't you think it's the same thing that is about to happen?
If the governors fail to act, although you see everybody is now saying that the governors must ensure they share this palliative. The governor, even the DSS,
because the other time after the whole thing, it was discovered that some persons actually hid some of those palliatives.
Like now, do you know that before they gave them the 5 billion naira, they are giving them the 5 truck of rice. They gave them the 5 billion last week Thursday. Now 5 truck of rice have come earlier before that time, and nobody shared the rice. Now even the DSS have come out to say, please governor, share this money. Even the governors that are trying to say the federal government is not doing anything, they have also received them, please share. So what we need to do is that let us keep advocating that this palliative they have gotten, they must share it, and we should monitor it. I suggested on the sister platform that when the federal government said they want to give the governor, I said, why don't you involve CBO, community-based organization? Why don't you involve NGOs? Why don't you involve FBO, faith-based organization, to be part and parcel of this sharing? Because they will give assessment about how far the sharing have gone. But when you hand over to state house, that is at the government house alone to do this, they may end up storing this thing until when elections are coming. And we have staggered election coming up. So those states that are having staggered election will use it as opportunity, because it happens in 2023 general election. The palliative for flood victims, it is, I wrote it in my article for this next week. The palliative for flood victims were never shared by the 18 states that were affected seriously by flood. But not until general election was coming, they now brought out those palliative and started sharing. So on this note, we need to do advocacy.
That should be your last word. That should be your last word.
A lot of advocacy on the governor that please share this palliative. Don't hide it. Don't keep it. Don't go and hide it and begin to share it to your friends and associates. Don't take it to world level and say, okay, from the political world level, let's not begin. If you take it to world level, your political power, the ruling party at the state level will collect it and share it to their members according to their contribution to the electoral victory of that particular governor or the person in power at that state. So we don't expect that to happen at all.
All right, thank you very much for being part of the program. Nigerians, they listen to you and they've had so much. The Minister of Finance has a lot to do because there's so much to do to revive the economy.